This
Hey
conference
guys,
will now be recorded.
you guys are aware of how to create a trial account for your
Yes.
okay. And I see today, Anjanali, you are aware of. Did you join the previous classes?
Only for one session. First two sessions I was attended.
So you know how to create a trial account and all this stuff. That you are aware of it, right?
No, I didn't get a chance.
Okay, that's fine. I'll show it to you, and then I'll show you how to create a trial account, and then I'll show how to install SnowSQL, the command line interface, how to connect to Snowflake. These two things I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to give you the architecture details of it. Okay,
Okay. Yep.
thank you. So, so coming back to the architecture part of it, right? So, what is Snowflake? And then Snowflake is like a database, like an Oracle or SQL Server or MySQL, but it is sitting on the cloud. This is sitting on the public cloud, not on premise or anything. You don't need to do any installation or patching. You don't. So 40% of the data maintenance work is done by Snowflake, and they call it as software as a service, and they also call it as a data warehouse as a service. Okay, so uh, sorry, Santosh, you
Yeah.
attend.
No, Shikhar, this is my first class. I was speaking, but I don't know whether you were hearing me or not.
No, no, I was not able to hear anything from your end. Okay.
Yeah, actually, today is my first kind of session. I don't know what has
Mm.
happened in the
Mm.
earlier, and am I in the same boat or I'm
Same
little
boat.
late for this?
Not
Okay,
late, not early. See what happened, we started
okay,
the batch, and then people wanted something in the morning times, and people wanted something in the evening times, and somebody wanted in the weekends. So there was a conflict because the time zones and people from different time zones, right? We wanted to accommodate all of them. So we were trying to have consensus, and then we started the batch. And I explained them two topics. One is architecture, and second one is data ingestion. So, and then we stopped it, and then whomever has joined back, right? We started having supporting them or teaching them again so that they're up to the speed. And
okay.
luckily, you joined in the first class, so I wanted to start from the first session itself. So
Sure,
there
sure.
were some people who joined little. So the problem is, right, once you know the architecture part of it, and
Mhm.
wherever you join any of the topic, each topic in Snowflake is independent, but you should know the architecture. If you know the
Okay,
architecture, and you can join in any class, that should not be a problem.
sure, sure. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So coming back to the Snowflake architecture, right? So Snowflake is a database sitting on a public cloud, like www.amazon.com is a public cloud. So same way, whenever you want to access the database, Snowflake database, right, or the Snowflake account, that is like a public URL, and then the database is sitting on the public cloud. It's not an hybrid cloud, or it's not on your premises or anything. And they call it as a software as a service because they are providing this software, data warehousing software, as a service for you. Okay, and then they call it as a data warehousing as a service as well. Okay, DAAS or SAS. You remember this keyword SAS or SAS, DAS kind of thing. So what is there in the data warehouse? Sorry, what is there in the cloud service? What kind of data warehouse they provide? So there is no hardware for installation, no configuration, no management. There is no software that you're going to install, no ongoing maintenance, no management, no tuning. completely runs on the cloud infrastructure which you are trying to implement. The cloud infrastructures are AWS, GCP, and then Azure. These are the three of them. So you can have your Snowflake implemented on any of these three cloud platforms. Okay, so it cannot run on a private cloud infrastructure. It's not a package software that you can install on your system or something like that. And the upgradations and everything, patching, everything is done by Snowflake. You don't need to worry about that. So 40% of the administration is done by Snowflake. Okay. So whenever you sign up for a trial account, normally whenever you want in this program, right, we sign up for a trial account, and I also try and show you how to create a trial account, and then we'll work on the trial accounts only. And then the difference between my production account and trial account is trial accounts are almost 85% similar to production accounts. So only couple of topics are not supported in trial account. All of them are supported. So I've been teaching the program for the past 1 year on trial accounts only. Whenever it expires, you can sign up with the same email ID. They don't ask you anything at all, and it holds good for 1 month. Okay. So how do you sign up for a trial account? Go there and then I have challenges. Okay. Just type Snowflake trial account and then you'll get this account. Before that, I'll just show you how does a Snowflake account look like. Okay. So this is the Snowflake account. Okay. Okay, this is how this Snowflake trial account looks like. Even the production account or dev account, they look like this only. Okay, you'll have this is the worksheet where you can query your tables and write procedures, functions, whatever you want. This can be done here. All the development work can be done here. And these are the databases that you have access to. And then this is the role in which you have connected to, and this is the worksheet. And each worksheet has a separate menu called context sensitive menu where you can connect to different role and different database, different warehouse, different schema, all this stuff. Okay, and this is called the menu ribbon, and this is a home kind of thing. Wherever you want, it takes you to the worksheet. If you go to the warehouses, and if you click on the blue icon, right, Snowflake icon, it takes you to the worksheet. And this is the role that you have signed in. If you want to change the roles, you can change your roles and all this stuff. Okay. So this is how you sign up for a trial account. Give your name, number, okay, and then if you want any mail communication, okay, continue, and then you can choose. There are different editions. They have standard edition, like Windows, right? You have home edition and an enterprise edition, right? Something similar. These guys have. Um, so sorry. They have different editions like standard, enterprise, business critical, and then there is another one called virtual private Snowflake. So virtual private Snowflake is only on AWS. All these three editions are there in AWS, GCP, and then Azure. So when you're trying to sign up, right? So sign up for an enterprise edition, which has lot many features. Business critical edition is much more into HIPAA compliance, SOC 2 compliance. If you are running, trying to test compliance kind of things, right? Then business critical is best, and it's gonna be you're gonna be charged more. So instead of that, go ahead and have enterprise that gives you all the details for you, and then choose any of the cloud provider. And I want you to choose AWS because AWS has a bigger footprint. 70% of the market is in AWS. And then I'm going to teach some 80% of the stuff on AWS. So choose AWS, and then whenever you choose AWS, right, you have to choose a region. So North America, East Coast or West Coast is cheaper, because the only thing is network latency. You have to connect to that account and then work on it. Or there are some exercises, and you can choose a pack Mumbai, which is nearer to you. Will have better network latency. You get better speeds and all this stuff. And then say get check to indicate that you have agreed upon, and just get started. You'll get a mail, and then which has a button to activate. Click on activate, and you'll get an URL, something like this. Where is the URL? KH. Okay. And then so this is what an URL looks like. Okay. And let me tell you what. So this is the URL, and so this is the account locator or account ID, and this is the region in which you have signed up, and this is the cloud provider. Okay. Cloud provider, and this is the region, and this is the account ID slash account locator. Okay. So whenever you are working in a working environment, right, this account locator will have the name of the company. Like if you think Accenture, right, Accent hyphen dev or stage, and this will have the other details. Accenture hyphen dev dot ap south 1 dot aws dot snowflake computing.com is common for all of them. Okay. And then if you register in US West Coast, where Snowflake is headquartered, right? You won't have all this stuff. You will just have dot, whether it's dev or stage or if it's a account lookout, right? Some kh22 something kh dot snowflake computing.com. It when you register your account in the North America West Coast region of AWS or Azure or this one, right? I don't know about GCP, but for Azure and this one, you'll just have the name of the account ID or account locator, and then the snowflakecomputing.com. Initially, they started with this one, and then they have identified that they wanted to have more URLs, right? They started adding the region name as well as cloud provider, so that they'll have more combinations, and then they can have more number of URLs, right? That kind of stuff. Got it? So coming back to the architecture part of it. So Snowflake. So before getting into Snowflake architecture, right, let's look at the other architectures that got evolved. And then the first one is shared data, shared storage, single cluster architecture. Now they can be multi-cluster as well. Shared data, shared disk architecture. They can call. Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, voice breaking, Shekhar.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you talk about shared disk architecture, right? That means if you look at this, right, this is the storage, shared storage. That means the data storage is shared by different hardwares. So different clusters. Cluster is nothing but a group of servers. So you have a group of servers that is part of a cluster which access the storage. That means whenever you are trying to do transactions, reading, inserting, DML activity, and all this stuff, right? So this particular hardware goes and talks to the storage and reads your data and then shows you the data, whatever the query that executes and everything. But here the storage is single. The hardware can scale up much, and if you want to scale up the storage, it's little complex, and there are some limitations on it. So whenever you're trying to do update, delete, and all this stuff, there are a lot of locking mechanisms and all this stuff. And then scalability is the biggest part in this particular architecture, and they have some good things about it. They have done excellent metadata management. They do store the metadata, they cache the data, and then their optimizer is very best. It identifies the best path to get the data pretty fast. So there are a lot of advantages to it. And then there came, so this is like Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, and all this stuff. And then there evolved another architecture called shared nothing. That means the data storage is not shared between different clusters. This is directly coupled to one cluster. So if you look at this, this one, this storage is only to this one to this. So there is an intermediate layer which goes and whenever you query, right, or whenever you do data ingestion, the data is striped across different storages. That means if you have 10 million, if you have five storages, 2 million each. The data is stored in each 2 million separate storage, and that storage only talks with the separate hardware. So there is an intermediate layer. Whenever you issue a query, right, it goes and talks to the hardware cluster, which in turn goes and talks to the um, storage part of it, and then get you the data. So here the systems, they're all MPPs. These clusters are massive parallel processing systems, and they're very very powerful, and get the performance is also very good. But the problem is, right, whenever you are trying to do a lot of DML or updating things and all this stuff, right? Now this, there is a contention between where to go and which particular storage this particular data set is, right? It has to identify and then update, right? So there are some challenges in it, and licensing costs are huge for this one. Okay, so they Snowflake came up with another architecture called multi-cluster shared data architecture. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll have some water and then continue. Okay, I'm very thirsty, please. Yeah, sorry guys. So what Snowflake has done is, right, they have separated the storage, they separated the hardware, meaning you can scale up your hardware, you can scale up your storage. So whenever you're trying to query, right, you can choose which particular cluster you want to query this. They have a range, they have already predefined range of virtual warehouses starting with t-shirt sizes. The hardware you can choose, this is the only technology which allows you to choose your hardware before running anything. And after this there are a couple of other technologies that came up with like that, but Snowflake has the best of it. So something like their hardware, they have predefined sizes with t-shirt sizes. It starts from extra small to 4XL, and they call this particular hardware as virtual warehouse. Okay, the cluster that we are talking about is called virtual warehouse. That is the reason they have multi-cluster warehouse. And you can have a single cluster and you can have multi clusters. That means we'll talk in detail, I'll explain you. But Snowflake is a multi clustered shared data architecture, that the data is shared between all of them. Here the data is shared, here the data is not shared, here this is a shared data architecture. Okay, and then so if you look at this, right, this is what I have explained so far. And then, sorry, you have a question for me? Okay, then, yeah. So whenever we talk about it, right? So this is what we have talked about, and they are MPPs, massive parallel processing systems, similar to. So basically, they have copied the Oracle part of it, and then copied the Teradata part of it, and they built another technology that is nothing but Snowflake. But they have done in a nice way. Okay, and this particular Snowflake fits into data warehousing purposes. If you look at it, right, this is what a data warehouse is. It's not for OLTP purposes. That means you cannot build an e-commerce platform on top of Snowflake. You cannot build a banking application on top of Snowflake. But you have the data coming from any e-commerce platform or banking platform. You get all the data into Snowflake. You can do the business decisions on top of it. Analytical data analytics on top of the data. That's where petabytes of data, historical data that you have, millions of records and all this stuff. So you have all this data upon which you can do your data analytics. Okay,
Uh,
and coming.
Shik- Shikhar, in your words, we will not be having the transactional data like we would be, Snowflake, you would be encouraging more of dimensions and facts of more of which uses for analytics. Is it right?
That is true, but see, transactions are part of any database, right? When you are trying to do ingestion, that means you are trying to insert. Transactions happen. When you try to do updates, deletes, transactions happen. But the only challenge is, right, they have some concurrency thing that you cannot use this system for the OLTP purposes. You can use it for OLAP purposes, analytical purposes. This is purely built only for data warehousing purposes. So milliseconds of multi-million, or if you are having about 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 transactions being recorded in the system, it won't support that. You can have about a max of 20 on a particular table, 20 transactions in single shot. That is the limit of Snowflake. But if you are trying to build a OLTP system, then it should support 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, depends upon the size of this particular thing, right?
Okay.
Okay. So when you talk about this Snowflake, right? Snowflake is divided into three layers. One is storage layer, the other is compute layer, and the third one is cloud services layer. So what is a storage layer? Snowflake utilizes the blob storages of three cloud providers as a storage mechanism. It stores all the data in the blob storages. For example, AWS, it stores in AWS S3 buckets, and then Azure blobs, GCP, Google storage. So Snowflake utilizes the cloud providers blob storage to store the data. If you create a table and insert data into a table, those tables go and sit in the respective cloud providers blob storages. Okay, and then the second layer is the compute layer. Compute layer is nothing but the nodes or the clusters that each cloud providers have. So they use the infrastructure of the cloud providers nodes to work as a hardware in the Snowflake. And they have created compute layer, and they call it as and they call these clusters are virtual warehouses. And these virtual warehouses have different sizes. See, if you look at the colors here, there are two of them here, there are four of them here, there are three of them here, there are four here. We'll get back to sizes and all this stuff. How many servers, what is the configuration? We'll get back to that. But whenever you're trying to run your query, right? If you, I can show you here. Here I can go and choose whatever warehouse I want. If you go to the warehouses, right? These are the warehouses that I have access to. You have seen, right? Small. This is extra small. These three extra. These large. These medium. These extra large. So these are the pre-computed clusters that are available to you, so that you can go ahead and you utilize any of them while running your queries. So while you're running your query, right, you can go ahead and then change your virtual warehouse. Instead of extra small, you can go ahead and use large. If you think that your query is going to scan too much data, terabytes of data, you can choose your relevant virtual warehouse for running your queries. And go up the chain, right? If you scale up, then the number of credits that you're going to burn will be more. We'll talk about it. So Snowflake is a cloud database, right? It's a pay-as-you-go model, and there are two charges that gets incurred. One is the compute credits. That means if you utilize a virtual warehouse, or if you utilize a compute cluster and then run your queries, for every second you will be charged, and that every second you will be charged is based on the virtual warehouse. If you choose an extra small one, you will be charged very less. If you choose 4XL, you will be charged the highest point of it. So if you want the best performance and all this stuff, right, you can choose whichever you want and run, based on which you will get the bill of it. Are we clear with this compute layer?
Yeah.
Okay. And then these two are managed by the other thing called cloud services layer. And this is the heart or core of Snowflake. And they also call it as a global services layer. And then this particular thing, so there are different modules in it, and the first one is authentication access control. The moment you log into the Snowflake account, right, this particular thing handles how to handle this particular thing takes care of the authentication. And then access control is which databases that you have access to, which roles that you have access to, which tables, which schemas, and everything is done here. And then infrastructure manager is the one which goes the moment you log into the account, right? It has to get you the availability of virtual warehouse, the hardware part of it, and then the storage. There is a bridge between both of them. It handles how you handle the hardware and storage part of it. And then optimizer, whenever you run a query, how does it go and get the data, and this all done with the optimizer. Transaction manager, whenever you do any DML activities like insert, update, delete, how do you handle those transactions? And then security, which tables that you can have grant for all the privileges that you can have upon and all this stuff. Okay, these are the core. There are three layers. This is part of an interview question or Snow Pro question. There are three layers. One is storage layer, compute layer, and cloud service layer. And I have explained you that the storage layer is blob storages, compute resources, the respective native clouds, and then cloud services. One Snowflake presents. Snowflake is the core. It has this is the heart of Snowflake. This is the one which handles all this stuff. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about scalability. Same data storage can be utilized to many of the applications, many of the business functions. You have data loading ETL team, you have analytical team, you have finance users team, you have development users team. You can have a couple of other areas, right? So each of them can use, if you look at the sizes here, right? See there, here there are two clusters. There is only one cluster, and this is big. There are three clusters which are small. There is a medium cluster and a big cluster. So based on your business requirement and all this stuff, right, you can choose any of this, can seamlessly work with the Snowflake without losing any performance impact. Okay, are you able to follow me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, yes. Hold on 1 second, please. I'll have some more water. Somehow I'm very thirsty today. Sorry guys, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, sir, correct.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the warehouse sizes that we are talking about, right? The t-shirt sizes that I was talking about, which are part of a compute layer. So they have sizes from extra small to 4XL. They use the underlying nodes of each cloud provider, and then so this extra small virtual warehouse, right? It has one server per cluster, and if this particular extra small warehouse, using this extra small warehouse, if you run your queries for entire 1 hour, you will be charged 1 credit. Are you able to follow me? This extra small warehouse, if it runs for one entire hour, then you will be charged 1 credit. And how many servers are there in this extra small?
It's only one server.
Yeah. So if you go up the chain, right? If you scale up, if you have a large, there are 8 servers. At 4x large, there are 128 servers. Okay. And if you run this 4x large, so this is the number of credits per second that it's gonna burn, or it's gonna cost you. So if you run a query and the query finishes in 1 second, this is the number of credits that are being billed to you. You have burned this many number of credits. So how many clusters are there in 2x large?
32 clusters are there.
How many servers are there in medium?
4.
How many clusters are there in medium?
4 clusters from medium.
No, how can be a cluster which, so if you look at this, right, it's number of servers per cluster. We are talking about a single cluster only. We are not talking about multi clusters. In one single cluster, in a medium warehouse, it has 4 servers. One single cluster for 4x large, it has 128 servers. Are you able to follow me?
Yeah, yeah.
This is crucial. So for 2x large, how many clusters are there?
2x large is the cluster is 1, but the server is servers are 32.
Yeah, yes. Now you got it, right?
Yeah,
So this
cluster.
is important. And
Yep.
you can have 10 of them like this. This is a single cluster. And you can have 10 of them like this. That means if I have 5 medium clusters, how many servers will I have?
5 medium, 5 into 4, 20 servers.
Yeah, 20 servers. Now you understood what multi-cluster is, right? This is a single cluster, you can have multi-cluster. You can go up to 10 clusters. Okay. So then
Yeah.
that particular thing you can set it up automatically based something, it works like a load balancer. The moment you have lot of load on the system, it automatically scales up. It automatically adds hardware to support your load on the system. So that is called a multi-cluster. We are here cluster. So now you understood multi-cluster shared data architecture. The data is shared between all of them. All the clusters can talk to the same data set at any point of time. Like ETL team can talk to the same data set, analyst team can talk to the same data set, and data science team can talk to the same data set, and they can use different virtual warehouses as per their need. When you are trying to do data science algorithms, right, you need a bigger virtual warehouse. You can go for 3x large or 2x large and run your queries. And if I'm doing a data ingestion, I don't need a bigger ones. I just need only smaller ones. So I can have one extra small or small, and I can do my data ingestion. Okay, when the reports are being run, and at the quarter end there are about 100 users running the reports, I can go for a multi-cluster, which is like a load balancer, and then I can run my reports. Now you understood the landscape of compute layer, right?
Shekhar, these kind of cluster like classification and segregation, everything is taken care by like admin or like as a developer, we need to take it forward this
No,
arrangement.
these are the available things that you can create, and whenever you're trying, you can create and give access to anybody.
Okay.
Whenever you can create a cluster, sorry, whenever cluster is something which is called a virtual warehouse, you can create a virtual warehouse, and you can create a virtual warehouse and give it to, but you should have the privileges to create a virtual warehouse, something like this, right? You go create,
Yeah.
I'll say test wh sample, and I'll say ETL is for user. I can choose a medium one, and here, right, I can choose min and max. If I choose maximum clusters only one, this is a single cluster. And if I
Okay.
choose maximum 10, this is min is 1, max 10. You can scale up whenever there is load, it automatically scales up. Okay. So we'll talk in detail about all this. This is how you can do, we can create a virtual warehouse, and whenever you're trying to create a virtual warehouse, these are the sizes that you can specify. You can go as of t-shirt sizes from extra small to 4XL.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what a compute layer is. And then, so we talked about one extra small. So that means you have 5 people running using the same virtual warehouse, and then trying to run their queries. And they have utilized this particular virtual warehouse for 1 hour. It might not be continuous. It might be intermittent, but the total time they calculate, and if this is completely utilized for 1 hour, right, you will be charged 1 credit. Okay, and the pricing depends upon the region in which you have your Snowflake implemented on. Snowflake pricing. Okay, if you look at this, right? I have. So what is the so if you look at my this one, right? What is my cloud provider here? Can you see my screen, right? My cloud provider is Amazon Web Services. My region is APAC Mumbai, and the edition is Enterprise. This is what the trial account that I have done. Okay, I'm going to the pricing part of it. What is my platform? AWS. Okay, hold on, guys. And then what is my region? APAC Mumbai. APAC Mumbai, right? And then if you come down, right, what is my edition? Enterprise edition. $3.3 per credit. That means if an extra small virtual warehouse runs for one's entire hour, there might be 5 users, 10 users, doesn't matter. If that is utilized completely for one entire hour, the bill that I'm going to get is $3.3. Like a mobile phone, right? If you use your mobile phone previously in the olden days, if you use it for your mobile phone for 1 hour per second billing, per minute billing, and for 1 hour, so something similar here. If you utilize your virtual warehouse for one entire hour, you will be charged $3.3. Are we clear?
Shekhar, this is for one user, or let's take this one. That virtual machine used by like multiple 5 members at a time.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, there might be n number of users. That does not matter. The total runtime of the virtual warehouse is important for you. Okay. And then let me. Okay. So what is my edition? Enterprise. I'll say edition. And then
Shekhar, with respect to the pricing,
mhm,
when I load some sort of data to Snowflake table,
mhm.
would it be having a storage cost?
Yeah, that is what I'm coming from. So we have storage cost here. This is the compute cost. We are talking about the compute cost here. If I go and change my cloud provider to virtual Azure, and then the Azure I don't have APAC Mumbai. The nearest one is Singapore, and then it has only 3 editions, and $3.7 is the price of my edition. Understood, right? So I want to show you one more example here. Hold on. Will come to the storage part of it. So my edition query runtime. Okay. Um, Credits per second. Credit cost. Okay. And then total cost. So we have seen here, right? If an extra small runs for 1 second, how many credits you will be burnt? You will be charged. If an extra small runs for 1 second, how many credits you will be charged?
0.003.
3, right? So if I go and then go to my account, so I have a table called. We'll discuss in detail about what this sample data is. I'll explain you. But hold on. There is a store sales table. Can you see store sales table, right? Can you see how many number of records are there? It has 288 billion records, 10.9 terabytes. Okay. I'm gonna query this table. Select star from limit. I'll just say 100. I'm using a virtual warehouse extra small and I'm running my query. Okay. I'm trying to query a huge table. Okay. And how much time it took for me to get the results? 11.82 seconds.
1.82 seconds.
Let's take it as 12 seconds. So addition is enterprise. Okay. My query runtime is 12 seconds and number of credits per second. How many number of credits per second? 0.0003. Okay. 0.0003. So total credits consumed. Okay. That means number of seconds multiplied by the per second, right? This is the total credits that have been charged. And credit cost is when you come to this particular thing, right? Is mine is it's in APAC, AWS, and then the region is APAC Mumbai.
3.3.
Okay, 3.3, right? If I go back, 3.3 is equal to, that means this is the number of dollars that I have spent. So 86 paise. I have been charged 86 paise. But at the same time, there might be n number of users accessing the same thing. But we will go and calculate how much is the runtime of this particular warehouse. And then we will see and then calculate the credits. Now you understood, right, how these compute charges are done? Are we clear? So if I go ahead and then if I use the virtual warehouse, I'm going to change this and I'm going to use what is this 3xl. Okay, and I'm running this query. This query is already cached, so I don't get the exact thing. I'm going to say store returns.
Shekhar, could you please ask us to uh, mute?
Mute.
I'm getting a noise. Yeah. Could you please
Yeah,
mute all?
yes, please. Yeah. Okay. So if you look at this, right, select star from this particular table. I'll say limit 100 and I'm using my test 3xl. Do you know why this is taking a lot of time? So whenever you're not utilizing, because it's a pay-as-you-go model, right? If a particular virtual warehouse is inactive for so many number of minutes, we'll just suspend the warehouse so that you won't be charged anything. If you utilize the warehouse, then only you'll be charged. If you're not using the warehouse, you're not going to be charged. Okay. So now if 3XL means it takes a lot of time to start up. Once it is started, right, the queries will be pretty fast. It's taking a lot of 3XL means how many number of servers that you have. Can you tell me how many number of servers in 3XL cluster virtual warehouse? Yes, these are the interview questions. They ask you. People ask how many number of servers are there in 4XL, 3XL. Stupid guys. People ask these kind of questions as well. You have to guess now. Tell me how many. You add up, it doubles up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 32. It doubles up. Whenever you scale up, right, from extra small to 4XL, it always doubles up. Tell me how many will you have in 3XL?
I
64.
guess 64. Yeah.
Yeah, 64 kind of thing. So this is still running. I'm gonna abort this, but I'll be charged for this because even though if I didn't get the result set, I'll be still charged for this. And then how much time? 1 minute 57 seconds, right? That means almost 2 minutes. 2 minutes 120 seconds. Let's do the same thing, math here. 120
Shikhar, the
seconds
charges are with respect to the users or with as per the hours? Because if
as
I
per the
have hour,
virtual warehouse and the number of
okay, I
hours
have a
that you are
virtual
running.
warehouse of X, okay, X small, and it
Mhm.
has been assigned to 2 or 3 users. If they query simultaneously, the
Mhm.
charges will be independent charges will be applied or only
No, 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 no. The total runtime. It's not independent to users. Concurrently, there can be n number of queries being run on the same virtual warehouse. But the total runtime, how much runtime that the virtual warehouse has run, it has utilized for 1 hour. There can be concurrently 10 queries, 20 queries, 30 queries, doesn't matter. How much time this virtual warehouse got utilized, that's where the charges are.
so basically it is based on the timings, not and with
Yes,
respect.
yes. Okay, but for your understanding, I have to go this way so that you can understand. Think that there is only one. Guys, hold on. I'm running out of battery. That's some battery. Yes, hold on. Sorry, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back.
Shekhar,
And how
one
many?
thing.
Mhm.
Suppose I have 10 users. How do we calculate a runtime? And is there anywhere can we find that one?
Bhaskar, I'll definitely tell you. I'll give you
Okay.
all the queries. We are in the beginning of the
Okay.
class. I'm trying to make sure that you understand the architecture better.
Okay.
You got me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you are using a 3x large, right? 0.0178. This is the number of credits. 0.0178. So have you seen? I have already spent 514 rupees, almost $7. So the moment if you use a bigger one, you'll get the best performance, but there are a lot of pitfalls. We'll talk about these virtual warehouses in detail. There is a separate session for it. I'll explain you all this stuff, but you understand the basics of it, right? So this is how the compute charges are being done. And then when you come to the storage charges, right? Snowflake charges you for the compute as well as the storage. And the data that is stored in Snowflake is completely compressed. They have the best compression techniques. 5 times of compression happens. That means if you have 5 terabytes of data in Oracle, when you get it into Snowflake, you will have only 1 terabyte. And then, so this is per terabyte per month. We have two plans. One is on-demand storage and capacity storage. That means you know that upfront you need 100 terabytes. You go for this model, $25. And no, you don't know what it is as and when you ingest and all this stuff, right? So this is what $46 per terabyte. That means they calculate the average balance. Today you might have 1 terabyte, tomorrow half terabyte, day after tomorrow 2 terabytes, and the average how much is the balance, and then they charge you accordingly. Understood? So, and the one that I have explained you, right, that is not the exact calculation. There are some calculations that you have to, because whenever you wake up a virtual warehouse, you'll be charged 1 minute. So there are a lot of things that come, but I have given you some rough calculations how things work out in Snowflake. Okay, and then so this is the stuff that we have talked about: database storage, query processing, cloud services layer, the three layers that we have talked about. And then we have talked about the authentication on the cloud service layer and all this stuff. So we have seen the regions, right? Different regions have a different pricing cost, different cloud providers, different regions have a different pricing cost and all this stuff. That okay. And then these are the supported cloud platforms: AWS, Azure, GCP, and the pricing thing that I have given the link here. And then you can have the data storage in S3 or cloud storage, Google Cloud Storage, or Azure Blobs or anything. Okay, and I have spoken about the naming conventions of the account locator, and then the region, and then the cloud provider, and the Snowflake Computing.com. And these are the stuff that you can have your Snowflake implemented on. Orange ones are AWS. You see, right? They have bigger footprint. And next one is Azure, and next one is GCP. GCP is very late entrant. Azure was implemented on 2018. So 2016 is AWS, 2018 is Azure. So it's only 2.5, 3 years old young. AWS is about 4, 5 years old young. Okay, and these are the editions and standard enterprise. Okay, and we'll talk about different things in the editions. We'll call it today. It's already too much for you guys in the first chat. So we'll have another session tomorrow, and then we'll plan for the weekend session so that you will have some clarity on what we are talking. Any questions
Shekhar,
for
how
me?
long? Yeah. How many weekends it is going to be take to complete
Five
course?
five week 5 weekends. It might spill
For
into the number of hours. It depends. So I want to have one in the morning, one in the evening. That is among the consensus. We'll take the consensus and try to have that. If you stretch for too much in a single day, right, you will get exhausted. I don't want you to that. You have to have the excitement and learning, right? So I want to have one in the morning, one in the evening, so that you are comfortable with the learning part of it. And then you have
yes,
5 days for your lab exercises or exercises. If I'm falling behind, I might have 1 or 2 classes in the evenings to accommodate, so that it again depends upon the number of people asking their questions and all this stuff, right? So I follow a protocol where if the question is not relevant to the other folks, I cut it out and answer them at the end of the class. If it's relevant, if the other folks will benefit, right, I answer them. So that depends upon that particular timing, depends upon the number of people questions, right? I normally tend to cut it out and then talk to them privately so that I can save some time in the class delivery. Well,
Hmm.
it happens. I cannot control that. Yeah. Okay.
Shekhar, Snowflake doesn't own its own cloud services because
No.
it is top of a AWS or cloud or Azure.
Azure or yeah, GCP. Yeah, it doesn't have its own cloud service.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. I think we are good. We'll catch up tomorrow, same time, and then we'll proceed with the details. Okay.
Thank you, Shekhar.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.